Himalayas, the youngest mountain range in the world, yet perhaps the most spectacular and lofty in its bearings, has meant many things to many people. Intrepid mountain travelers have thronged these heights in pursuit of adventure, as well as spiritual enlightenment. The trekkers and pilgrims take up this arduous journey in search of thrill and out-of-the-world landscapes in this revered land. Towering among the eternally snow-covered peaks of Western Himalayas is nestled the majestic Shrikhand Mahadev, peak at the altitude of nearly 18,500 feet. The legend has it that God Shiva meditated here. It is also believed that the Pandavas used to visit this peak. This pilgrimage is surely not for the weak, because at times a trekker needs all the skills of an expert mountaineer. Shrikhand Peak is located in the Kullu district of Himachal Pradesh, a hilly state of India. Most popular trek is from Jaun village in Kullu district of Himachal Pradesh. Jaun village is accessible by motorable route, nearly 167 kilometers from Shimla, via Narkanda, Nirmand, Bagipul. From Jaun village onwards, there is a nearly 70 kilometers two-way trek through a zigzag rough trail stretching up to Shrikhand Mahadev Peak. Some of the trek route comes within Great Himalaya National Park, where forests and high-altitude meadows are officially protected. Village Jaun is a typical traditional village, with small cluster of houses surrounded by apple orchards. From this place, the actual journey is set forth on foot. We come across conventional village houses on the way. An ancient temple of goddess Gauri is situated in the middle of the village. The carvings on the outer wall of the temple are profusely decorated and are a real feast for the eyes. Sanskrit shlokas are written on the walls, linking the place to the Jamadagni Rishi, an ancient saint who is believed to have meditated here ages ago. Inside the temple, the statue of goddess Gauri is placed at the center. The wooden carvings are beautifully done all over the walls, pillars, and rooftop. It presents a beautifully hilly artwork. Every trekker and pilgrim seek the blessings of Gauri Devi, one of the various names of goddess Parvati, the consort of Lord Shiva, before commencing his journey to Shrikhand Peak. Shrikhand Mahadev pilgrimage season starts from month of June and continues till mid of August. The narrow pathway goes by the side of the Shrikhand River. Colored markings are done on the rocks along the sides of the trail to guide the trekkers. Houses made up of mud, stone, and wood comes across the way. After 3 kilometers walk from Jaun, we reach Singhgad village. It is the last inhabited village of civilization on this route, and also the base camp for this grueling Shrikhand Mahadev trek, which takes 2 to 3 full days from this place. The fervent religious songs are performed during the evening, or sometimes throughout the night by the pilgrims and the local inhabitants. After a full night's sleep and taking a nourishing breakfast early in the morning at Singad, the pilgrims and trekkers embark upon the next phase of the journey. The trek path goes above the river into the higher slopes, meandering through dense forest, profuse greenery, and thick foliage. One can enjoy the panoramic view of the valley being left behind if the fog permits. On the way, after trekking to a certain height, some tired devotees and trekkers can be seen resting and spending their leisure time in the temporary tents.
Ole! Ole! Ole!
A very steep, almost 80-degree climb starts from here, which is the first test of the trekkers' resilience. The trekkers pant and gasp with fatigue at the hard climbing effort. At some places, pilgrims and trekkers have to pass through the narrow path cut into the rock, having deep gorge below. The ever-present dense fog lends an aura of mystery to the forests throughout the journey. Here is a trail marked by verdant forests of oak and pine trees. One can enjoy the natural beauty of the terrain, filled with shrubs and lofty trees on the way. After climbing for 9 kilometers, which takes at least 7 to 8 hours, we reach a camping site at an altitude of about 11,000 feet above sea level, known as Tachiru. A night stay in the tents here is quite advisable to acclimatize the trekkers for next phases of the expedition, which are situated at higher altitudes. Free meals are arranged for the devotees here. The trek is real tough and exhausting, but we often come across some devout pilgrims whose religious zeal overpowers all physical and natural limitations. As the journey progresses, forest cover is over. Trees are replaced by bushes and ferns on the hill slopes. The increasing presence of fog decreases the visibility as we advance. The vision of the distant landscapes becomes more and more obscure. The trek continues towards Kali Ghati, which is at a distance of about 3 kilometers from Tachiru. Frequent and sudden rains make the trek increasingly difficult. Kali Ghati attains the height of about 14,000 feet. Kali Ghati is dedicated to goddess Kali, and a place for worshipping the goddess is also on the wayside. Due to heavy rain here, Some of the trekkers have interrupted the journey and taken sanctuary in tents. Everyone is in his own mood of sanctity. Some are gossiping, and some are satisfying their hunger. As the rain stops, the clear blue sky starts appearing between the clusters of the clouds. The valley broadens, and the trekkers are greeted by the breathtaking visuals of steep hillsides and the lofty mountain peaks hugged by the cottony clouds, floating weightlessly, as if in a slow-motion movie. The fog plays hide and seek with the beautiful landscapes and visuals. The trekkers descend along this valley. Natural sources of ice-cold mineral water are available everywhere. The sprawling green meadows in the valley look wonderful. One should be very careful while crossing the streams, as there is no proper footpath available here. At some places, the climb is very steep. In front of the way comes a glacier stretch above the water stream, with a beautiful waterfall flowing at its high end. This glacier is to be crossed to reach the other end connecting the path. The icy surface of the glacier is quite slippery and dangerous. Huge flocks of Himalayan sheep are seen on the way, perfectly merging with the surrounding meadows. These are herded by nomad tribesmen known as Gaddis. These herdsmen live in the temporary huts and will shift from here before coming winters to low-lying areas along with their sheep. Beautiful roaring waterfalls come across the way. A wrong or unguarded step on this narrow, slippery passage can land you in a gorge more than 100 feet deep. After an exhaustive walk of 6 to 7 hours and covering a distance of 7 kilometers from Kali Ghati, one reaches the place called Bhimdwari, situated at the height of about 13,200 feet above sea level. It is the base camp for the night halt of the trek. Here one can have food and shelter. After a full night's sleep in the shift camp, trekkers prepare to start very early in the morning to reach the further destination. The fresh morning sun rays falling on the virgin peaks of the surrounding mountains make the landscape almost divine. A view of the sprawling green meadows in the valley fills the mind with ecstasy and strange spiritual freshness. The trek ahead of Bhimdwari is more demanding and stressful, and it is advisable to leave the heavy part of the belongings here. Here, the water coming out of small stream appears as red as human blood. Legend has it that Bhim, one of the Pandava brothers, killed the demon Bakasur at this spot, making water of this stream blood red forever. Trekkers had to pass through narrow trail path between the green meadow hill slopes. Enormous stretch of flower beds are spread over in the valley. On the way, we encounter many cascading spring water streams, sprouting out from within the mountain slopes. Some water streams are flowing down from high snow glacial mountains. Water in these hill springs has unique natural taste. Just ahead is a glacier stretch in the way. Walking with cautious steps on slippery surface of the glacier, one cannot imagine that there is gushing stream of natural water flowing beneath this glacier. We encounter the most blissful view of waterfall, the milky white water spurting out from the heart of high mountain rock faces and falling as a frothy stream on the hillside is a sight beyond the grasp of words. It is the singular experience of a lifetime to be so close to nature in its most raw experience. Trekkers had to pass through sprawling grassy meadows laid up in zigzag form. Stretched before us is a vast orchard of rare medicinal herb and high-altitude flowers in full bloom. This valley of flowers is really beautiful, full of colorful flowers and leaves. The visual experience is almost heavenly and intensely intoxicating. As we climbed to reach Parvati Bagh, we could see beautiful snow-clad mountain cliffs and waterfalls. Wider view of the valley of flowers left behind is really blissful. After a steep climb through medicinal grass and plants, we reach Parvati Bagh. Parvati Bagh, the garden of goddess Parvati, is situated at a height of about 14,500 feet above sea level, and its distance from Bhimdwari is about 4 kilometers. Distant view of the Shrikhand Mahadev peak can be had from here, if the atmosphere is not misty enough. The surroundings with magnificent panoramic view of the lofty mountain peaks, snow-covered cliffs, snow glaciers, and green meadow valleys enrich the beauty of this place. All around in this area sprout the rarest wonder plants, including the flower known as Braham Kamal, which is used in rare medicines and rituals. Here is a stone idol of goddess Parvati, consort of Lord Shiva, where people pay their obeisance on reaching this place while coming and going. One can take rest here and have tea and snacks at the tents pitched by the locals. Many devotees and trekkers, including ladies, are sitting comfortably and sharing their experiences. From here onwards, weather conditions worsen, and decreasing oxygen levels in the atmosphere can actually be felt while breathing. Vegetation starts decreasing as we ascend. Another steep climb is of about 1.5 kilometers, after which there is a descending rocky path. There is no proper footpath as such. The travelers have to find their way on this rugged trail full of rocks and boulders. Some pilgrims find time to rest and get a bit of relief on the way. Walking becomes increasingly difficult as one has to manage footholds on the rocks and boulders, scattered all over in the way. Special markings are done on them to guide the path direction ahead. Surrounding mountain slopes provide a tremendous scenic backdrop as the pilgrims and trekkers climb up. As we look up, the hill seems soaring into the sky. We walk over the snow-laden path, and we come into the mesmerizing presence of wonderful glacial lake called Nan Sarovar. The lake is about 500 meters in circumference. It is a pure glacial lake, lying in a trough, encircled by barren and snow-covered hill slopes, topped by glaciers. Some part of the lake water is frozen into thick layer of ice. Like every natural wonder in this pilgrimage, there is a legend attached with this lake too. It is believed that goddess Parvati meditated to get the attention of her consort, Lord Shiva, at this site. And a tear, dropped from her depressed eye, formed this sacred lake. The lake is indeed in the shape of a woman's eye. Many trekkers like to take a dip in the lake before climbing to the peak. Stone idol of goddess Parvati placed beside the lake. Devotees pay their obeisance to the goddess on reaching this place. People take some rest to free from their tiredness before climbing to the final destination. Some of the devotees on the way are returning from the top after visiting to Shrikhand Kailash. Pilgrims and trekkers are seen while climbing up and down the rocky, serpentine path. The ascent becomes exceedingly steep, almost 85-degree angled, climbing on the steep rocks after Nan Sarovar. Weather at high reaches turns hostile without warning, bringing sudden rains or snowfalls, and makes things difficult for the pilgrims and trekkers. As one looks back while climbing, a human eye-like shape of the Nan Sarovar becomes visible. It is a hard experience, like climbing a wall of rocks and boulders with deep gorge on the side. one needs some skills of a good rock climber. It is daunting and at some places very dangerous, as you have to climb at the edge of precipice or walk on the periphery of a glacier where a careless step may prove fatal. Oxygen level goes on decreasing while climbing up high, and vegetation totally vanishes. Pilgrims had to walk through the dangerous ridges. The snow glaciers in these treks sometimes make it difficult to maintain the balance to climb. On one side there is hundreds of feet deep gorge, and on the other side are wide glaciers. Some ecological conscious trekkers are collecting the garbage left over by some pilgrims, endangering the precious ecology of this stunningly beautiful cradle of nature. After an arduous climb, before reaching Shrikhand Kailash top, we encounter big rocks with different kinds of markings on them. The local folklore link the place with Mahabharata era. It is believed that the Pandavas visited this place during their exile and tried to build a temple here during a night, but the sudden break of dawn interrupted their efforts. Snowfall and windstorms can occur at any time here. The snowflakes can start falling and the temperature reaches below zero. It is utterly difficult to stay here for a longer period, as maintaining human body temperature in sub-zero conditions and low atmospheric pressure is almost impossible. The last lap brings the pilgrims in the holy presence of a natural gigantic rock, Shiva Lingam, known as Shrikhand Mahadev, an abode of Lord Shiva, where he had meditated centuries ago. This majestic Shiva Lingam rock measures 65 feet high from the base. According to the legend, Ravana, the 10-headed demon king, severed his 10th head as an offering to Lord Shiva. It is also believed that Lord Shiva had reappeared in the form of Shiva Lingam on this peak after having confrontation with demon Bahasmasur. The snow falls here round the year, but it is almost a miracle that it ever stays on the holy Shiva Lingam. Devotees and trekkers pay their homage in front of this sacred huge Shiva Lingam. After scaling the arduous climb and reaching at the height of nearly 18,500 feet above the sea level, the feeling is of being at the top of the world. The breathtaking view of the cotton-like clouds floating in the sky is overwhelming. The persistent lure of this magnificent panoramic view of the mountain cliffs, snow-clad peaks, and glacial valleys makes the Shrikhand Mahadev peak the cherished destination of devotees and the adventurous trekkers alike. Over here, looking at the ethereal beauty of the surroundings gives the mystique feeling of Shiva's abode, which is inexpressible and an experience of a lifetime.
Om